Hello, class. Welcome to our lesson today. We're actually visiting a topic near the end of your book. It's called Topic 3 at the very end of your textbook. It's about rewriting equations and formulas and solving for variables. I think it's a good topic to kind of look at before we end the school year. So let's go ahead and get started. The first couple questions are going to have some x's and y's in them, and this question says to solve for y. Now, we've done this in the past where we solve for a variable, and it's kind of like the two-step equation approach. The issue is there's multiple variables in this question. So instead of just solving for the y value by adding 8 to both sides, well, instead of adding 8, you have to add 8x to both sides. So the minus 8x and then add 8x and then move that to the other side. This idea is the same as what you did before. Students sometimes struggle with the fact, oh, what do I do with the x piece? Well, it just goes along for the ride. What this really shows us is our ability to be able to manipulate equations without necessarily doing an old school and old-fashioned guess and check approach that sometimes students use to solve for variables when it's a numeric answer. So in this case, I'm going to add 8x, to both sides. That leaves me with this 2y equals, and then 8x plus 10. I can't combine those two things because there's still this plus 10 here that doesn't have a variable. Then if I were to solve y and get y by itself, I would have to divide by 2. And then that would be 8x divided by 2, which is 4x, and 10 divided by 2, which is plus 5. I have to basically distribute the divide by 2 in order to figure out the answer. So 8x divided by 2 and 10 divided by 2 will give me 4x plus 5 equals y. We're going to go through a few more examples of just solving for the variable. So solving for y here, I need to get rid of plus 7x because addition and subtraction are least important. I need to get rid of them. So minus 7x on both sides. Notice here on the right side I have negative 7x plus 12. You could write that as 12 minus 7x, but typically once you get further into your algebra classes, you'll want to have the x value first. It'll just be a little bit easier to do some things later on. Then to get rid of get y by itself, I'm going to take 4 and divide by 4. And then I'm just going to distribute the divide by 4 into both pieces. So negative 7 divided by 4, negative 7 over 4. I can't do anything with that. I can just leave it as an improper fraction even. You'll notice that as you go through your classes that that's okay. And then 12 divided by 4 would be a plus 3. Sometimes students say, well, can I just leave it like this? In some cases, the answer might be yes, but typically when you're solving for x and y, you're going to want to actually divide that number. So go ahead and divide by the 4 in order to find that solution. The next question has some decimals involved, but that doesn't change the setup of the question. To get rid of minus 7.5x, I'm going to do adding or plus 7.5x on both sides. That'll give me 7.5x plus 10. And then I get rid of the coefficient of y by dividing, so divide by 2.5 on both sides. 7.5 divided by 2.5 is 3, and then x plus 10 divided by 2.5 is plus 4. So once you get into a rhythm, the solving for the variable really isn't that challenging to find. The challenge is that your answer is not just a number, okay? It's just manipulating to solve for a variable and moving things around. This allows teachers to see if you can understand how to solve an equation, manipulate the data or numbers, and then isolate the variable correctly. The next one, notice, has a distribution of 1/3 that would need to be distributed into this quantity on the left side. However, because you're trying to get y by itself, it might be better just to multiply by its reciprocal right away or divide by the fraction. So if I do that right away, I'm going to multiply by 3 over 1, its reciprocal, and get rid of it. That goes away here on the left side. So then I have y minus 4x equals negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. From that point, it should look the same as what you've done in the past. Okay, get rid of minus 4x. Now notice this one's minus, so I have to do the opposite, okay, inverse operation, okay, which would be plus 4x. So I add 4x to both sides, and my answer would be y equals 4x minus 18. And that's your final answer. Okay, all the questions we had talked about up to this point had x's and y's. The rest of the questions we're going to look at are just they look like random formulas. Most of them are actually from something, maybe in a physics class or a math class or a science class. This one right here, h, which is a height piece. It makes like a height of a projectile that's being thrown, like a baseball, for example, equals negative 16t squared plus s. Now, you don't have to know anything about this equation. All you have to do is get s by itself, solve for s. So the only thing stopping s from being by itself is the minus 16t squared. So to get rid of minus 16t squared, I'm going to add 16t squared to both sides of the equation. Once I do that, I can't combine anything on the left side. H plus 16t squared is as simplified as it can get. And that's the answer. H plus 16t squared equals s, or you could have flip-flopped it, 16t squared plus h equals s. The next one is a perimeter equals 2 length plus 2 width. I want to solve for the width, the w. Notice here that my variable is on the right side again as opposed to the left. That's irrelevant. If it matters to you, then switch the order around and that will be okay as well. First thing to do, I can't get rid of this 2. I need to get rid of addition and subtraction first. So to get rid of positive 2l, I'm going to do minus 2l on both sides. P minus 2l is as simplified as it can go, and then equals 2w. I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides because the coefficient of w is 2. And when I divide by 2, I'm just going to distribute it. So p divided by 2, I can just leave as p over 2. Minus 2 over 2, those cancel out because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So it's minus L equals W. This would take the perimeter equation, and if you knew the perimeter and the length, this would be a new version of the formula. Same formula, but just manipulated to be able to solve for W faster if you had to do that over and over again. The next question is the conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So this is saying if I need to solve for Celsius, I could plug in Fahrenheit, subtract 32 from it, and multiply by 5/9. So if I want to work backwards, remember one option is distributing the 5/9, but that just makes the problem more complicated. So if there's a fraction like this out front, or any coefficient actually, that's outside of a quantity like this one, just multiply by its reciprocal or divide by it right away. So to get rid of 5/9, I'm going to multiply by its reciprocal, 9/5. That will cancel these two out here on the right side, but I had to multiply the other side by 9/5. That gives me 9/5 c equals f minus 32. To solve for f, I'm going to get rid of the minus 32 by adding 32 on both sides. I can't combine any terms, so I have 9 over 5c plus 32 equals f. That would be your final equation. And again, the benefit here would be if I have something in Celsius, now it's already set up to just plug in and then multiply everything through and add together to equal Fahrenheit. Your homework today comes from topic 3, which is on page 776 in your textbook. You have a wide range of questions here. The first group are X and Y questions. The second group are different variables and solving for things like the second half of the lesson. You have to make sure that you're showing all work on these scenarios. They should look like what I've shown on this video. Okay, you want to start with the original equation, manipulation of multiplication, adding, subtracting, if you're multiplying by a reciprocal, whatever it is. Those things need to be shown, and then we need to understand your process. Please make sure, if you haven't written any of these examples down, go back through and write a few of them down so you have them as references. It's very difficult to do this topic without this. So please make sure you have a few references to look at as you're doing your homework, and that should help you be successful on your assignment. Have a good day, everyone.